Welcome to another episode of Full Retard. I'm your guest host, that crazy butterfly lady. Today we have a story from r/entitled parents. My entitled mother tried to rent my spare room out to her friends. So this happened about 18 months ago. Basically, I began living above a pub that I own. It has a large two-room living room connected via an archway and curtain across it. My youngest sister and her friends began staying in one of the living rooms that had the privacy of the curtain. My office was the other living room. This flat also has two large bedrooms. Mine is the biggest. My mother was helping me set up the pub since I had also gone back to university a year prior. My mother hired a chef who lived on an island nearby, who had been her friend for years back, but I had never met. She had offered him a job here because he had been looking to move back home. Then all of a sudden she tells me, he'll be staying in the second bedroom for a while until he gets a place sorted. I hated the idea and tried to protest a lot because I did want a strange man living with me, and this was the first place that I had to myself. I hope to enjoy being on my own. My mother mentioned that it'll only be a little while, a couple of months max. It didn't matter anyways because the guy ran. My mother's best friend, who had helped me sort the pub out a lot and I had known for years, was also in between places at the point, so after the first guy left, I suggested she move her stuff. She said it would only be for a month while she finds somewhere else, so I said no worries, and she moved her stuff in. Then it turned out my mother's other best friend also started to need a place to live because he didn't want to live at home with his parents anymore, so my mom invited him to live in my flat. When she told me this, I questioned where he would even stay. She replied, he'll have your room. You stay in that living room with the curtain. And then when first best friend moves out, second best friend will move into that room and you'll get your own room back. When I responded that I didn't really know this best friend that well, in the 10 to 15 years of their friendship, I met the guy only a handful of times. My mother responded, oh, it's only until he gets a place. It'll be about 6 months. Whenever I pushed or said I didn't feel comfortable or I wasn't going to give up my room, she would get annoyed and say she's just trying to help her friend. That Christmas, the first best friend stuff was still there, but she wasn't staying there and she had her own place, but she just left a lot of her stuff here for a while. My sister came back from uni for the holidays, and at the time we were discussing that in the summer break she would live here too. My youngest sister was still living in the living room with her friends too. Then my mother said, since first best friend has a place now, second best friend can move in. I replied saying that my sister is living here, but that means my mother had a spare room, so why can't her friend live with her? Her response, I don't want them, the second best friend and his girlfriend living with me, like my space. I replied, well, you know him better than I do, so I don't want him living with me either. She responded that he's desperate for a place to stay and mentally it's taken a toll on him, so I replied again that he should live with her then. She actually got angry because she was just helping her friend. He never ended up moving in, but it felt like my mother was always offering my spare room up to anyone that walked by. My boyfriend actually got put a lock on all the doors on the inside for safety when the first guy stayed for a week. Just to clarify, I love my own. None of her friends live with me, and I have the place to myself now. She doesn't work at the pub anymore, mentioned in a comment what happened, and now that I have my own place in the pub, I've stood my ground a lot more and say no a lot more. I don't get guilt tripped anymore, and everything is good. My mother and I get on better now that we have separate lives. I just thought it was a funny story because I find the audacity hilarious. Also, my mother doesn't take no. She'll use guilt, or she'll say, trust me, or she'll get angry at you. It's easier that said than done growing up like that. I've said in a few comments that this has gotten better because now I can say no, and that be the end of it because it's my place, but it took a while to find it. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, and follow us.